Today, we wrap up International Fraud Awareness Week.
We hear about scams every day, but sometimes fraud is an inside job. Small business owners say the highest cost for financial crimes is 55% of them are insider fraud cases, and they happen in companies with less than 100 employees.
That's right. And joining the conversation right now to talk about how we can drastically decrease that percentage is forensic accountant and #1 best-selling author of Did You Hire a Fraud? She's been here before, Bernadette L. Harris. Thank you so much for joining the conversation
today.
today.
Me back.
Oh, no problem, because we were talking before the show started. This is typically the time of year when you see more and more of these cases where people, start taking money that doesn't belong to them.
Right, right. And a lot of times, people think that you have to be a bad person to commit insider fraud, and that's not always the case. We have a theory that we study. It's called the fraud triangle, and in this theory it talks about the 3 things that have to be present for a good person to commit fraud. And one of those things, the first part of it, is pressure. So we know that this time of year, people are oftentimes feeling a lot more pressure than normal. Maybe they're having the pressure of being able to provide a good Christmas for their family, or maybe pressures like medical bills or just real life expenses like rent and car notes and things like that. And so having that pressure and not being able to share it, or feeling like you can share it, or feeling like you can satisfy that need in a legitimate way, can put a person in a position where they may take some things that don't belong to them.
Now, some small business owners watching may be wondering, they may be thinking, that fraud only looks a certain way. Are there different types of fraud that they should be on the lookout for as small business owners?
Oh, absolutely. And fraud doesn't look a certain way. A fraudster doesn't look a certain way. There's no real profile. They're young, they're old, they're sweet old ladies in their teens. They're, young moms, they're middle-aged men and young men. So there's no real profile for it. They're just signs. They're things that, a business owner wants to look out for. So you want to look for there's some signs of pressure, that someone might be exhibiting. A lot of times also an inside fraud job is committed by someone who they're first-time offenders. So they don't have a record. You've probably run a background check and it came back clean, because 87% of inside fraud jobs are first-time offenders. So they will rationalize their crime. They may rationalize it and say, well, I'm not really a thief, or I'm not really a criminal. I'm going to pay it back, or I'm just borrowing the money, or worse, if they're disgruntled, they don't pay me enough anyway.
Exactly.
And so they can justify taking, from it. And those are 2 things that a small business owner has no control over. The one thing that they do have control over is the third part of the triangle, which talks about the opportunity. And this is when someone inside figures out a way that they can commit the crime. And they figure out a way that they can commit it with little or no chance of getting caught. And so as small business owners or business owners, company directors, you have the responsibility of making sure that the opportunity is not there.
So basically you say that this all boils down to trust, and you created an acronym for that.
Right.
Tell us about that.
Okay, so trust. A lot of times we want to trust. I hear people say, what's wrong with trusting people? And trust isn't enough. You trust and verify, right? And so what I did is create an acronym, and these are some of the things that business owners, organizations can do to make sure that you are kind of protecting yourself from fraud. So the T in trust stands for time off, right? You want to make sure that everybody is taking time off. It sounds like it's simple. You're at work early, you leave late, you never take a sick day, you don't take vacation. That is not dedication. That's a red flag. Because think about it. If you take time off from your business, if you take time off from your job, why would someone that you pay be more dedicated to your organization than you? So you want to make sure that people are taking time off. Lots of frauds are discovered when a person goes on vacation.
Exactly.
When they call in sick. And so you want to make sure that that happens. The R stands for rotating duties. And this is when you cross-train your staff so that no one person can get comfortable in a position. And if you rotate the duties at infrequent times, then they don't know when they're going to switch up the duties. And it gives you the opportunity to make sure if something's funny going on, someone else might catch it in that rotation. It also strengthens the organization because now your employees are cross-trained, right? The U stands for unannounced cash counts or audits, right? So if you have a petty cash fund, which most organizations do, you need it, you know, for the candy dish, you know, money for the candy. Maybe you need postage, you run out of postage or something like that. Small purchases, you have to have cash on hand. Have unannounced cash counts where you don't say when you're going to check out the cash. Right, yeah, surprise. I need to verify these receipts. I need to verify the cash to make sure everything balances. If they know when you're going to count the cash, they may borrow from the cash and put it back. But if they don't know, if the cash counts are unannounced, then you can deter fraud that way. The S stands for separate passwords and logins. And this one is a big one because in my book, Did You Hire a Fraud?, I talked about a guy who embezzled $8.5 million from a major corporation. And one of the ways that he was able to do it is because he was the accounting manager. He had everybody's password and everybody's login. So I log in as you and I do a check request, then I log in as me and I approve the check. And that's the way he was able to embezzle $8.5 million. And so you want to make sure that your employees have separate logins and they're not sharing passwords. Make them sign something to say that they won't share a password, they won't give someone else their password, or that they're responsible for anything that happens under that login. And I think people will, not share those things. And then the last T in trust is training. And training is important. Training is ethics training, fraud awareness training. People need to know what fraud looks like. They need to know that your organization is a credible organization, that you won't stand for fraud, that you believe in the ethics of your company. And so that training is training your employees to know that we need you to be a part of the conversation. We need you to be a part of the process of detecting fraud. Hey, this is what it looks like. This is what I need you to do if you see anything. You know, we've seen the signs that say, if you see something, say something. Right, the same thing, you want to have that same environment. And you want to have an environment where the whistleblower, right, is protected. Because we grew up thinking that the tattletale was bad. Like, you don't want to be a tattletale. You don't want to be a snitch. Right, you don't want to be a snitch. But we have to create an atmosphere in these organizations where you won't be outed, you won't be ostracized if you tell. Because 46% of the cases are discovered because someone raises their hand and says, hey, something's wrong here.
Exactly. Well, Bernadette, thank you. We could talk to you all day.
So much useful information.
Exactly. So much great advice. But folks can find more advice in your book.
Right. DidYouHireAFraud.com. You can grab a copy of the book. It is also on Amazon if you're a Kindle reader, so you can download it on your Kindle.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Bernadette. We appreciate it.
Thank you.